Call the regularly scheduled Mandan Park District Board meeting to order. Today is January 13th, 2025 at 5:30. Any additions or deletions to the agenda? Okay, none. Moving on to public communication from visitors section of our agenda. I know we have a couple people here, but I believe they're here to speak on a couple other items. Hearing and seeing none, I will close that portion of our meeting. Moving on to approval of December 9th, 2024 regular meeting and December 30th, 2024 special meeting agenda minutes to approve.
I would move we approve the minutes from the December 9th regular meeting and the December 30th, 2024 special meeting.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Scott.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Freilich. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, moving into our items here. Item number 1, consider for approval the following user group agreements. The Bismarck Mandan Stock Car Association.
Perfect timing.
Oh, you must be Preston. Welcome, Preston. We are at the user group agreement for the Mandan Stock Car Association. So Preston is here to answer any questions, or do you have anything to say, Preston, before we? Nope. Okay.
Yeah, stand to the mic. So I'll just give a quick overview on the agreement. So Commissioner Mutter, Commissioner Freilich, and I all attended the Stock Car Association back in their business meeting back in December. We discussed the old previous agreement, and we agreed to move forward with a per fee event, which is $950 per event. And then if there's cancellations due to weather, that we would not charge them for that event. In the past, they've had anywhere between 26 to 28 events over the last few years. Obviously, if you charge the full amount, it would be worth about $26,600. We had 5 rainouts roughly this past year, so roughly would have dropped it down to about $21,000 or roughly $22,000. So it's a win-win for both. They want more events. We would benefit on the backside if for some reason we have severe weather or we have a cancellation midway through the race, that we would not charge for a fee for that. One of the items in the contract, though, for discussion is it is a 3-year contract. We've done 5. We wanted to do a 3-year this time, only because it's new for both parties going to a per event fee. And then the last comment is when we did the payment schedule, we talked about this at our board meeting, or our staff meeting this morning. Normally it's been a flat fee, and we've kind of broken it out, and Stock Car Association's always just paid it lump sum. What we're thinking, Preston, would be to do is when we do the monthly utility fee, we just send you a monthly payment for that month for the $950 per unit. That way then we're keeping track and staying on top of the rainouts in case there's, get to the end of the year, you might miss 1 or 2. So we think that would be easier. But other than that, the agreement's been presented.
Can you talk about the practice nights too? I think that one was highlighted as what has changed there. I see.
Yeah, so the practice nights in the past, they've always had one in the spring, and they've added the one in the May and October, the ones that have been we just want to put that in there. But the new event that they're looking at is a slingshot program, basically for the youth. I'll let Preston kind of explain here further than that, but I think any time that we can benefit the youth and get them opportunities to get out there and grow a sport, I think that's what we are as a mission anyways, so I felt that was not an issue to delegate, but you can talk a little bit about the slingshots.
So the slingshots is something that we're bringing in because we're continually trying to push this to be more of a family event. Not only that, getting kids into sports is one thing because as a sport, it just takes dedication and working as a team. Where with the racing deal, it's also a level of maintenance, working on something, trying to build something. So we're trying to push it to become more so a family sport as well, even more than it already is. So the thing with the slingshots, though, is it's only ages 6 through 14. So some of these kids being so young, it's just like anything else. Trying to get them to listen or follow along to instruction can be kind of difficult. So we wanted to have basically like a practice night, but it's not like our traditional practices where we let everybody come and work on their cars. This quite literally is just a program where we're trying to get the kids into the cars, teach them how to line up on the track, where to go after the race, stuff like that. So it's more so a procedure practice is what we're calling it, where it's not like it's a testing and tuning of your car. It's teaching them where they're supposed to be, how they're supposed to go, and who they're supposed to listen to.
Preston, can you explain about the safety of the slingshots too while you're at it?
Yeah, so the biggest thing is in trying to get the youth into it, everybody always brought up go-karts, and the problem with the go-karts is it's an open cart. You're not strapped in, there's nothing in there. The one thing we wanted to bring in was we still wanted parents to have peace of mind that their kid's going to be safe. So the slingshot is it's a V-twin Briggs & Stratton engine on a full frame, full cage, tubular cage chassis. So it's a full roll cage, just like in the bigger cars. It's just on a smaller scale. But these kids also still wear the full fire suit, safety rated helmet, and neck braces that we require in all the other classes. So they're very, very safe inside those cars.
Okay, anything else for press? Thank you for the explanation. Some of that made sense, some of it didn't, but I think of 6-year-olds in my line of work driving cars, and it scares me, but it sounds like you're taking care of them. So,
Like I said, that's why we want that little bit of extra practice, not for working on the car, but for working on the kids.
Sure. All right, anything else for Preston, or are we willing to accept the agreement as written?
I'll make a motion to approve the recommendation awarding a 3-year lease agreement with Bismarck BMSCA as presented.
Okay,
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Freilich, second by Commissioner Mutter. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Thanks for coming, Preston.
Thank you.
Item number 2, presentation from Lower Hart Water District on proposed improvements that impact the Mandan Municipal Golf Course. Dennis and Bill here. Okay,
President, Commissioners,
welcome.
Bill Robinson with Lower Hart. And the last time we were here, we were presenting 2 or 3 different options that we are considering for the 4th hole reach of the levee. At that time, we were looking at either a stability berm or a relief well system primarily. Since that time, we have learned of one other method that will be considered, and it's the preferred method for Lower Hart, and that is the tow trench option. In a bit here, I'll have the engineer with Lower Hart come up and explain the technical side of it, but cost-wise, it's about $1.1 million cheaper than any other option we were looking at before. So, and it's the least intrusive, I think, both physically for the golf course and operationally for the golfers.
Sure. Thank you. I think I'm glad we waited on this, to find this other option. I think, Cole, you've kind of informed the board on what that looks like. But I guess, Dennis, do you want to go into a little bit more what that might look like?
And President Meshke, there is a new handout in front of you that Dennis had handed out here at the meeting. So
Is that the one you sent out?
I emailed it to you too, but there is a
That
copy.
one's one came tonight or this afternoon. Okay.
I don't know if this is
Okay, that's this one. Okay. This one's colored.
not coming.
So yeah, as he's bringing that up, and you do have that in front of you for the board members. So it is a tow trench option. Basically, it's on the order of 12 to 15 foot deep, right adjacent to the levee system. Basically filled with granular material to collect seepage that in a flood event that would potentially seep under the levee or through the levee. That would capture that, and then in that granular material, you would have a collector pipe that would run parallel to the levee, and then be deposited into a sump or someplace where you can pump from, like a 60-inch manhole buried into the ground as well. And so it's not very intrusive to the golf course. We anticipate that it would be, we'd have to raise, again, we're raising the levee there, and that was what precipitates all this. So we'd have about an additional 2 feet towards the golf course just from the levee itself, maximum. But then we'd have this 15-foot top width toe trench that would be at the ground surface. There would be nothing really sticking up above the ground. We would try to restrict driving of golf carts on that. Not a death knell if they do, but we try to limit that or restrict that. And so one of the things we've talked about with Cole and Stan was, possibly some type of divider fence at that location so people aren't driving golf carts on top of that. During construction, we'd probably want another 30 or so feet outside of that just for construction activities. Along with that, we talked about getting land rights right-of-way, a permanent easement for the Lower Heart Water Resource District to own and operate that collector system. And basically how it works, like I said, you would collect water. If there's a flood event, any seepage through the levee system, collect into that system, deposit it in that sump, and then we either have an existing pump there or put in a pump at that time to pump water up over the levee system, just so the golf course doesn't get flooded. There would be cleanouts of that collector system about every 400 feet. And again, those would be right at the surface. Again, not intrusive, but we would anticipate that every 4 to 5 years that you'd have to do some type of maintenance O&M on that system. And so along with that, we are proposing an access easement from the north, basically using that alleyway. And if you're looking at your graphic there, that little you'd have to get equipment in there, drive on there. And so part of that, I think, would involve a partial relocation of hole number 4 green.
And then, Dennis, just to pause on that question. So, President Meskey and Commissioners, we would like to be able to provide that additional access. We know that green is right next to the toe of the levee. We don't know what 5, 10, 15 years are going to require for another accreditation. So we wanted to be a little proactive. And we know if they're driving from the south north along that 15-foot easement, they're not going to be able to back all the way out because 15 feet wide with some of these trucks that they have are no way that they're able to turn. So we want to be able to either go north-south out of there. So one of the questions, and Garrett might be able to elaborate a bit further, could we start the new green construction in 25 while we're waiting for your permits and then be reimbursed later?
Definitely physically you could. As far as how it would work financially, I'd have to think that through, but are you better position? I'm guessing it certainly could work out.
I mean, for us to upfront the costs of that green construction while we're waiting for the permitting process to happen, we're losing time. So that would allow us to have a new green by the time construction happened. It wouldn't impact anybody. Then we would front the cost. Could we just we would just track those bills, send them to you prior to approval from the Corps? I guess that's the question on your end.
I think that could work. I think that could work.
I would agree. We'd probably have to make some confirmation calls, but I believe that would work.
So, Cole, are you asking for actual cost of what it, or are you asking?
I'll let Garrett kind of explain what we're thinking here.
Up to a certain amount.
Commissioners, what I think would be the ideal plan for this is we wouldn't start construction on the replacement number 4 green until the construction on the toe trench started, and that would be congruently. We'd have to have hole number 4 shut down for safety purposes while they were doing construction, so that would give us free access to work on that hole as we were able to. My thought process is if we have a year gap in there, we'd want to maintain a 9-hole golf course. So part of that is I would find a spot. Specifically what I'm looking at right now is in between 6 tee box and 7 green, constructing a new green that would give us an alternate hole for the 1 year that construction was available. So we'd build like a 100-yard par 3, a green there to be used temporarily. When the project was all said and done, we would then have a nursery green or an extra chipping green, which we don't have at municipal right now. So it'd be a long-term benefit, but also help us out short-term. And then while that hole was being played, while the construction of the toe trench was happening, we would build a new 4th green outside of the easement. That would be a permanent solution, and that would allow that green time to grow in and mature, so be ready to play the following season, is how I envision that timeline.
So you still envision the whole 4 being shut down for 1 season?
Yeah, and we talked about, probably trying to stage construction and limit times where they can work on the adjacent to the golf course, during certain parts of the year. We certainly think that's possible. And I forget what the restrictions from a golf course operations window is, if it's 2 to 3 months, if it's, I heard by July 1st, I'm just recalling off memory. So, we can attempt to accommodate that. One of the things we're up against is we are still going through a regulatory process, and we don't know how long that's going to take. And so we don't know an exact bid date yet. And so that's a variable for us, and then also for you then by that same rationale. So
20 weeks would be the desired timeline. The lower end timeline, where if I seeded a green, I'd want 20 weeks of mature time before we played it. So July 1st would ensure that it was playable for the open of the following season. What's unique about this situation is we can't build the replacement 4 green ahead of time like we could if it was the new location was going to be behind the current location. It's going to have to be in front of the current location, so we can't have construction going on and play open at the same time.
I may just continue. I didn't talk about the southern end. We, of course, would need access there to an access easement, and we'd have to work out how that is going to be provided on a more permanent basis. But I do show some sketches there on where access would be needed from the Lower Heart Water Resource District for O&M operation maintenance, and then also during flood operations.
And Dennis, I think we had one question just for clarification, because we noticed that the laydown yard has been moved a little bit. Are you assuming that chipping green will be eliminated?
On a permanent basis, or just
Well, just based on where you have everything kind of laid out on your map, it looks like it's going to be impacted. And so obviously no one will be able to use the chipping green at all throughout the summer.
Yeah, I would say during construction that would be limited to no access. It would be my mind.
Question then, because I noticed the warming house is pretty close by there. Then, I know it was in Cole's notes that we were going to leave it open, but are we going to leave that open with all that construction around there?
Yeah, the intent is to keep it open on the weekends. That's why in the MOU we talked about no construction on Saturdays or Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, so that we wouldn't impact that. And then we do have sand volleyball Tuesdays and Wednesdays down there where it's very busy during the summer months, but we have nowhere to relocate them. But I think if we got the working hours, we'll be fine if they're done by 6. Seems to be reasonable where they'll be out of there at that time.
Keep in mind, these sketches are approximate. Again, they reflect my drafting skills in some. So.
Anything else for Dennis?
Well, we've had a few meetings over the last couple months, and I just feel like this coming to the forefront has been a blessing, so to speak, not only financially, but for the golf course itself to be able to be functional for a longer period of time, and just feel like we've worked very well together, and I'm hoping that this can all come together, and the completion we'll be able to see the benefits of waiting, like Wade said, for this opportunity or this option to come about.
I got a question. Is so FEMA is okayed with this project like this?
Yeah, so part of the things where we found this bill, actually, I talked to Council Bluffs, Iowa, and so this process has been vetted through the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Omaha district, and so that's the same district we are in. So that's a good sign. FEMA, the technology, the calculations that we've done, there should not be any issue from a FEMA perspective as well. So.
Attorney Ruff, I know you still have some things to put together. Have you had a chance to look and see, I guess, how this affects us / protects us and helps our community?
I've looked at Cole's comments for the memorandum of understanding, and then briefly Bill had some comments to that as well. I'm working on putting that together. I'll have a draft to Cole in the next few days. One thing that I think we'll need to do here, I think this was missing from last time the levee was done, when we can describe, generally speaking, in our agreement, the temporary easement for construction and the permanent easement for the tow trench levee. But once completed, we'll have to get an as-built for that, so we have an actual location survey, something that can be recorded to show here's where the permanent easement for the tow trench levee is, and then the parameters of the temporary construction easement and how that will be used going forward.
That should be a pretty easy button from our perspective is once you're done constructing it, you have to complete as-builts for FEMA, for Corps of Engineers, and so it's just to be, same thing would be handed over as part of that process, yeah.
So President, Michigan Commissioner, so Dennis, I understand, we've been through the core permit. It took us 2 years to get one permit, and then the other permit took 2 months. So we know that's going to be a moving target. Do you have a timeline as how long that permit's open for? Because we would really appreciate to do it in one golf season and not carry it over between two if possible.
Right.
How do we control that?
Right, and so once a permit is issued, I think they're typically good for 2 years, and then you can ask for extensions, which I think they almost universally grant. And so I think there's a 2-year window where they're definitely viable, and probably 3 or 4 is probably also definitely viable.
And then this project, you're anticipating maybe 4 to 6 week construction? Doesn't look like it's that intrusive.
We haven't done the analysis, but I
Sorry,
think.
what did you say, Cole? 4 to 6 weeks?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to
Oh,
understand.
okay.
Like, in my mind, it's just a trench hole and going, and
Yeah, seemed easy, doesn't it?
there's no buildings, there's no tying into utilities, so it seems like it's pretty straightforward.
One of the beauties of being engineers is you can say, do it in 6 weeks, and they do it in 6 weeks, right? They figure out things in the field a lot of times. But we haven't really done that analysis. I think that time window is realistic, though. I certainly hope so.
So then my final question would be, obviously, you're going to submit the permit contingent on our MOU. Will then design docs get developed and construction docs start, or has that already happened?
So we're currently at about the 60% design of 60% plus of the whole system. We're trying to get to 75% here in the next 4 to 6 weeks, and at that time we would submit it to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and FEMA for the start the permitting clock. And so yes, they will be. We have gotten direction from the board to proceed with design.
So the question from the public was going to be, will we see anything done in 25?
I would say it's very unrealistic. And and again, that permitting window is such a unknown. The Corps of Engineers gets a certain amount of funding from Congress. Once that funding runs out for these types of reviews, they stop work. And so, their fiscal year starts again on October 1st. So if they run out of money before October 1st, they could literally stop reviewing. And it's unfortunate. It's what we're up against.
So, Lower Hart, do you need a motion from us to, I guess, to approve the tow trench construction, even though the MOU is not done, or do we do that in order to go forward with your permit, or should we do everything at one time?
I think for the application, they're going to want to see the MOU, so
Okay.
I think we still have another step before.
Okay.
But they'll certainly want your blessing at some point that
Okay.
and the MOU should verify that.
Okay. So really, are we looking at like next month then, Arlen? After February. Okay. Okay.
And then, Bill, your board meeting is the last Tuesday of the month, the 27th? Well, yeah, 28th. So I'll present it at that time. Bill will get it in advance, and then hopefully the Lower Hart Board will make their
They'll
approval
approve
at
it.
that one, and then we'll
Okay.
bring it back in February.
Okay. So really, we'll wait until February to look to approve and make that motion for you. Okay. Appreciate your guys' patience. I'm glad we waited. Like Commissioner Scott said, it really is. I think this is a good solution for everybody. So
Yeah, I agree. We had several good meetings and
good. Good.
progressing well.
Okay.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. All right, item number 3. Presentation from EAPC on construction costs and bid construction timeline on Prairie West Maintenance Building renovation and expansion.
So I noticed Brett wasn't able to make it, so I'll just kind of lead into it. And if he shows up, we'll definitely allow him to provide some input. But as you can see, the projection, or the overhead projector here, kind of just demonstrates this portion of the building is existing. This portion with the canopy would be the new expanded area. And you can see the lower area view gives us another side garage door, and then obviously expanded space there. The canopy that you see here today will be reduced just to bring it back closer to the building. It probably will be an alternate, just due to costs and things of nature. We want to have something to protect us in case these numbers get a little bit high. The next sheet I'm going to show you is sort of a site plan to kind of get a better idea. So as you can see, there's the building footprint, chipping green, and that's over here. I just want to clarify that will not be impacted. As you can see, the dark shaded areas relocates the utilities. Utilities today kind of run through where the proposed expanded building would go. It'd be relocated and down to the bottom level so it stay out of the way of the building. But just kind of gives you an idea of what would be impacted. The cart area here, as you kind of can see, we've been going round and round trying to figure out where we could get rid of the fence area and maybe open that up to a larger tee box or something else related to golf. We are in the process of potentially moving it over here to see if it could potentially work, or even into this area. We're moving carts constantly back and forth, so if we can get them a little closer proximity to the clubhouse, it just makes more sense. If we were to keep them here, the idea would be to kind of a covered shelter like we have at our larger parks, especially with a higher roof, and then be able to enclose that and then be able to have them stored there with a concrete pad instead of the gravel that we have in there today to kind of help prevent with the dust and then keep the rain and stuff like that coming off them. So that is temporarily what we're looking at. And then as far as the interior of the building, and Garrett, if I'm missing anything, please feel free to add. Obviously this side is the new added addition. You got your office spaces here, the grinding room, and just general mechanic bay here. And then this area here is what mechanic bay is today. Will now be his chemical room. This area over here is not heated. So we are going to add heat into that and then update his offices, knock out some walls, and kind of give him a larger area for his staff, for locker rooms and break rooms and things of that nature. He needs to get a bigger office too. That's his office here today, and the new ones are a little bit bigger, so I was teasing a little bit, like, you're going to let the guys go over there and you stay here? So we are working through that. In front of you was the updated version. I know I emailed it out, but kind of talks about the costs and the timeline. The cost kind of goes into roughly, with all-in costs, without any alternates at this time, you're looking at about $2.3 million on the high side. We know there's a couple items that we probably are going to look at, and I highlighted one was the remodel of the existing shop into chemical storage of $137,000. We want to get it cleaned up with, brighten it up there, get better LED lights and maybe some paint. But as far as shelving and things, staff feels like they can maybe do that one along with the exterior canopy. Again, that would be an alternate. So we already cut about $240,000 off of that number already to kind of get her closer to roughly $2 million, what we're looking at. So we'll work through those alternates, but what we're looking for today is approval to advertise and to proceed as presented with the dollar amount.
One thing, Garrett, and Cole, I guess, we had talked about maybe as we expand and look to, after our contract is up for our next set of golf carts, to maybe look at electric. This new canopy or storage area, is that going to be able to meet the needs if we do go that route? Or is that going to be within the bid?
So that we've had discussions on that. We would run conduit underneath from the main building of his expansion, would run a conduit underneath the concrete, tie into where the cart storage would be, if that's where it's going to be, and we wouldn't pull the power over at that time.
Just have it there.
And then when we're ready to do the electric carts, we'll see what those bids come in, and then we can just pull the wire over there. And I've seen them, and I showed an example down in Rapid City, a golf course that I frequent at when I'm down there visiting. They actually have a similar thing where they have the drop downs out of the rafters where you make your connections.
Okay. So nothing into a wall, just
we would
cords?
side all three sides, or excuse me, two sides, and then have a gate on each end.
Okay. So
We're
that's
hoping to have a better
that'll be
solution.
included in the bid then.
Correct.
Okay.
That's that number that you have in front of you that talks about 11,000, the reinforced concrete flatwork exterior improvements, building perimeter, sidewalk, water line, et cetera. That's at 285. The shelter in the concrete is pretty reasonable.
Okay.
And then just to talk about timeline, bid date would be May 29th is what we're looking at. Again, that might move a little bit. And then construction wouldn't happen until, as you can, really wouldn't happen until late summer. We would do the footings and the foundation, get it backfilled, and then hopefully do the construction over the winter months so it wouldn't impact the golf course too much. But we will have to make some adjustments throughout the season, obviously redirecting traffic from holes 9 to 10, and just people kind of used to walking through that back gate of their shop over by the chipping green may not be able to have access to it. The other concern we have would be when construction is going and we have tournaments into that August and September, October, obviously we have a parking lot that's going to need equipment and materials to be stored there. So we may have to push them over to DCP for couple months just to kind of appease that. It'll be an impactful, I guess, to some of the golfers having to carry their clubs. That maybe we can work something out where carts are running out there to grab people and bring them in. But we haven't worked through how that laydown yard will work at this time. But something worth forecasting. Garrett, anything else you want to add?
I don't think so. I think that's the basis of it. It would be a huge improvement for us to be able to get the space that we need. And an overhead lift is the thing that we are really lacking with head space right now. Our current ceiling is 8.5 foot. This would give us, 18 foot at the highest point where we could actually get equipment on a lift and make repairs rather than transporting them across town, things like that. It would save us a lot of time and efficiency.
And so speaking of parking, do we have enough I mean, I know for these bigger tournaments, there's people out. For the most part, are we okay with our parking, or should that be part of looking at this project, or to add more spots, or not?
I think like any facility, there's those 3 days a year that you could probably use more parking, but a vast majority of the time we're okay.
Okay.
We've talked about where that lift station is in the middle when you have the two approaches. We talked about, do we expand that into additional parking as part of this? And we definitely could put
Well,
that
they're
as an
parking there now.
They are.
I think those are parking spots now. There's just no lines on the grass.
We could look at that and just see as an alternate what that would cost to come in.
Okay, any questions for Cole or Garrett?
Cole, how much money you have put away for this again?
I think cash that we put away in our vision fund, I know it's probably changed a little bit since we last talked, but it's right around that $750,000 cash, and then the difference that we would be financing through the fees of the golf course.
Thank
you. Anything else? Okay, so Cole, you'd like a motion to bid this out? That's right. Okay. What are the board's wishes?
I would move to open up bids for the Prairie West Golf Course Operations Building Construction Project.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Scott.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Freilich. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, moving along to item number 4. The presentation of the 25 to 27 strategic plan.
So, Commissioners, the strategic plan is in your packet. I'm not going to go through it unless you would like me to. It's been emailed out. It's been reviewed many times by managers. Obviously, each portfolio has had an opportunity to make comment. In your packet was kind of a summary of the highlights of each goal and objective that we were trying to accomplish, and then we had a separate Excel sheet. And that's really how we're going to implement everything. That's more detailed and it's very specific on who's doing what and what year we're going to do it. But if there's no questions that you would have, I would just ask approval to approve our strategic plans presented unless you want the full pages presented.
I'll make the motion to approve the strategic plan for 2025. 2020
25 to 27?
to 27.
There you
Thank
go. Okay, motion by Commissioner Mutter.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Melhoff. Any further discussion? Okay, Cole, after approval, this will be on the website for people to see since we didn't go through it tonight. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Moving on to item number 5, consider for approval out-of-state travel for County Manager Welch to attend GFOA, which stands for...
Good evening, Commissioners. President Meschke and Commissioners, I am here to request approval to attend the Governmental Finance Officers Association Annual Conference. And since I've been employed with the Park District, I've been a member of GFOA, and I have attended a few online type training sessions from them, but never attended one of their annual conferences in person. And so when we were preparing the budget last year for 2025, I did put this request in, and we implemented as part of our travel and training budget enough to cover my attendance at this conference. It is held in Washington, D.C. on June 29th through July 2nd. It's a Sunday through Wednesday. And I've included the cost estimates that are presented for you, and I have not booked anything yet, so these are preliminary estimates, but I think they're pretty accurate. And so the total cost I'm estimating would be $2,920. So I'm just asking for your approval to attend. Do you have any questions for me?
Okay, board wishes.
Make a motion to approve out-of-state travel for the accounting manager to attend the GFOA in Washington, D.C. in June and July of 2025.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Melhoff, second by Commissioner Scott. Any further discussion? Okay. Hearing none. Commissioner Mutter?
Aye.
Commissioner Freilich?
Aye.
Commissioner Melhoff?
Aye.
Commissioner Scott?
Aye.
Aye for me as well. Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 6, consider for approval disposal of park and golf operation equipment.
So in your packet, Commissioners, was this.
This is you or I have Garrett, right?
Yeah,
Garrett?
I was just going to
Both
introduce
of
it.
you?
So
All right.
what we've done in the past over the years, and it doesn't happen very often, but we do present things to the commissioners in regards to exactly items that are no longer valuable or have just been parted out or just been sitting in storage that have no use anymore for the park district. And so I'll let Garrett kind of explain his equipment and things, but in your Excel spreadsheet, there is a North Dakota Insurance Reserve that shows our assets. We highlighted that in, I guess I'll call it the light blue and yellow between golf and parks. Those items that are listed on there, they would be taken off our asset list. We have them insured at a number. We've asked over the years to have these removed. I think it's just kind of a timing thing and a communication with our insurance agent to be able to get these removed off of our policy. So the request would be to remove those, and I'll let Garrett ask any explanation as to what those equipment and what his intentions are.
In doing this, do you see an insurance discount or some sort of are we going to see any sort of minimal? Okay. Any questions for Garrett? All right. Guess we don't have any questions for you, Garrett. Looks like we were going to get rid of a few things. It's found in the packet there. So, board's wishes.
Since I didn't ask a question, I recommend approve to dispose of items as presented.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Mutter, second by Commissioner Scott. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Item number 7, approval of monthly bills. We could get a motion to pay our bills.
I'll make a motion to approve the monthly bills.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Freilich,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Melhoff. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion carries. And then item 8, Commissioner Staff Reports. Cole, anything else?
I just wanted to add, I don't know if the commissioners that attended our joint powers agreement with the Mandan Public Schools went well. I know I highlighted some updates in there, but we did approve using joint powers agreement funds for the outside improvements at this football stadium area for those ADA addressed needs. And then we also approved doing the middle school courts as part of that project too. So just wanted to highlight that. The minutes are in the packet if you want to see some details with that, but it was a good promising opportunity. We will be getting bids and estimates sometime between spring and summer. We've been in communication with the bleacher individual, so he'll be out here January 27th, I think, when there's a school board association meeting. He's coming out, so he'll come do an inspection there and hopefully provide us some quotes and a timeline. That's it.
Okay, Terry? Nothing. Garrett? Attorney Ruff? Okay, Commissioner Mutter?
I've got 3 things.
All right.
Winter Day starts this Saturday with the volleyball tournament, and all next week is Winter Day. So check out, everything's online, so check that out. The other thing is that we do have 2 new programs for basketball. We have kindergarten and first grade. So if you want to register your kid as a kindergarten or first grader for basketball, go right ahead. And I'm saying this because I was the one who kind of scoffed at the app thing on the phones, but Kelly just told me there's about 600 apps. People are using the app, so I'm really happy to hear that. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Mutter. Commissioner Freilich,
I've got nothing.
Commissioner Melhoff, and Commissioner Scott.
No report.
All right. Neither do I. Future meetings for Park Board members, our next regular scheduled meeting will be here February 10th at 5:30 at the City Hall. Can we get a motion to adjourn?
Moved.
Motion by Commissioner Melhoff,
Second.
second by Commissioner Scott. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.